Welcome, everybody. I'm Congressman Darren Soto, representing the 9th Congressional District. We're here in the Longworth Building in our nation's capital, along with Sergeant Lou Boria and his wife, Alice, a World War II veteran. And Sergeant, thank you so much for coming today. This is going to be part of our Library of Congress oral history, and we're so proud to have you as a resident of Central Florida. First, I wanted to start out with the first question is, where were you born and where did you grow up?
I was born in Brooklyn, and born and raised in Brooklyn. My parents, my father was came from Puerto Rico, Santurce, and my mom was from Fajardo. And like I said, we lived in the usual communities of Latinos and surrounded by all the different other ethnic groups.
It's like the UN, right?
It was I grew up and my mom was a Baptist. So she took us, we went to la primera iglesia bautista de habla español in Brooklyn. So that it was really something that I learned Spanish, the Bible, all the books of the Bible, and things like that, in Spanish all the time.
And your mom was very influential on you growing up, is that correct?
Yeah. And the funny part about it is, just growing up this way, so when I got to Paris Island, I didn't know Paris Island, no, they might have been Camp Lejeune. But anyway, I had a guy with me, was from Virginia, the coal mining areas and that. And,
sure.
And one day he asked me if we go to church. I said, yeah, I go to Baptist. Oh, you Baptist? I said, yes. We went together. So they singing the hymns, Onward Christian Soldiers. And now I know it in Spanish, so I'm singing in Spanish. And this guy freaked out. You speak two languages? We come back to the barracks. He's telling the guys, this guy, he speaks two languages.
And so that ends up being a big part of your career, which we'll get into in a second. So do you remember when you first signed up for the Marines during World War II?
Yeah, I lived, I meant to tell you that yesterday, but I lived a couple of blocks away from the Brooklyn Navy Yard.
Oh, we don't know that.
And all ships from different countries all come there. And I lived about 3 blocks up. And I always saw this, I always saw the negative sides of the Navy.
Sure.
And the only good part I used to see was the Marines. Whenever they would patrol, they were always real nice, real sharp.
Sure.
And, so I was very impressed with the things with the Marines. So I tried to talk my mom into signing for me, but I was too young. So she told the guys, no, that I was only 15, at the time. So one of my friends says, go register to the draft board. So I went, I registered the draft board. I told them I was 18.
And that was common back then. A lot of 16-year-old boys were interested in fighting for their country.
So that, so I wound up getting that way. Then I passed the physical and everything else, and all of a sudden I get called for induction. And when we got there, they line you up, and it's the different services are there. So that this Navy guy comes out and he says that he needed 15 guys on it. I was one of the 15. So I told him, no, I'm not going into the Navy. So the guy told me, you go, well, we told you. I said, well, look, I'm not going into the Navy. I didn't say I didn't want to go into the service. So then the guy said, well, what do you? I said, I want to go in the Marines. And like I said, the story, this corporal was walking by in the Marine. He said, that is mine. So I wound up in the Marines.
And then...
So it looked like he was a draftee, but actually he was a volunteer.
Yes, and that's incredible that you had such patriotism, even at such a young age. Where did you end up doing your training at?
I was up at Paris Island. Whoa, Paris Island, I'm telling you. We got off the bus, and this guy just screaming at us, get there, Never, ever was physical. Verbal, the worst.
Very strong,
So,
right?
anyway, anybody, when he gets of all the list of all the guys' names and everything, and so they're looking at me, this is 1943, with my complexion, so in the platoon, all white guys, so I stand out. So he walks over to me and he goes, where you from, boy? I said, Brooklyn. So he's looking, what's your name again? So he's looking at the roster and he sees my name then. He goes, you're a draftee? You came into my Marine Corps, but he's using F this and F that.
Yeah.
And my Marine Corps draftees, you couldn't volunteer. You're one of those cowards that had to be, the guys didn't stop. All 12 weeks, this guy was on me.
And of course, you had to keep your secret because you were
I
only
had
16.
to. I mean,
You
they
were actually
would have thrown
volunteering.
me out. So, would you believe at the end of the 12 weeks, you always like to have a parade, and right after that parade, you get your 10-day leave, and we're all packing, and I'm ready to leave. All of a sudden, he slides in, walks into the barracks, and the minute the drill instructor has to stand at attention. So he knocks up at the door and says, Boria, get out here. So I said, oh no, this guy, he doesn't get up. I figured there's this guy looking to get me out of here, throw me out, So I go outside the door, I'm standing at attention, he says, stand at ease. I get, so I go, he sticks out his hand, and he shakes my hand, and he tells me, you're gonna be a good Marine. Control your temper. And he walked away.
Amazing.
I mean, to me, I thought he put the Congressional Medal of Honor around my neck. What a feeling that was. He picked me out of all these 45 guys in the platoon.
I'm sure it was very inspiring. Now, that was one of the distinctions. Well, a lot of folks who were born on the island, they served in a segregated unit, the 65th Infantry, the Buccaneers. You got to serve in World War II, integrated with all the Anglos at the time, and that was pretty unique back then, wasn't that?
But I tell you what, it was the greatest changeover for me, because, when you live in a city like that, we did, like in my time, not today, but in my time, you were like the schools, the church, the grocery, the butcher, everything was Latino.
Very insulated.
Now, when I get to Paris, I'm with all these white boys, and nobody's identifying me with Puerto Rican this or Puerto Rican that. I mean, it was just like everybody was just one.
Sure.
And I always tell her that this integration for me was outstanding because back home, anytime these white guys, it was always a chase you, looking to fight.
Sure.
And here it is, all of a sudden, we all became one. And that's the biggest thrill of my life was this thing with the Marines, this camaraderie, that, no matter how old you are, where you your mom, your dad, it don't count anymore. Some of these white boys were my father, this or my dad, that. I mean, and then because they were white, that they got the complexion. In Paris, it wasn't like that.
Amazing.
We all became one.
And then you ended up having quite the trip over to the Philippines next. How long was that, and what was that like being shipped out there?
Yeah, that was. I tell you, anybody that's in the military and went aboard, a troop ship knows what I'm talking about. 53 consecutive days. I mean, it was horrible. I mean, there were times you only get two meals a day. And most of the time you spent on the chow line, trying to get to the mess hall. And the cramped, the heat, and in those days, the compartments, there's no air conditioning, so they had these big, on decks, the priest.
Tunnels.
And then we hit a storm, a typhoon. And you had to come from your compartment to get over to the mess hall. You had to come across the deck and then get down the compartment and go and eat. So it was so bad, they put a rope from one end to the other, so you held on to the rope, and the sergeant would be standing there, and he would tell you when to run across. So what? And the ship is doing one of these things, and every time that the bow went down, the rudders would be out of the water. And the trembling, the noise that made.
Sure.
The ship was vibrating and everything. So, and all of a sudden, it tells me to go. And I'm going to go. This mountain of water must have been about 20, 30 feet up. Over. So now the ship is, and this one is in that mass of water. I jumped back inside and the water, when I came, all the landing crafts were gone. Like a domino effect, it would hit the first one, and that tore it, and all 6 boats were ripped off the deck. So all the guys go, wow, there's no boats to take it to the shore. Yeah. They brought boats from different, all the other ships to pick us up or to sit.
And eventually you made it to the
The
Philippines.
Philippines on Leyte.
Describe that arrival. I know that.
Well,
Did you
yeah.
face opposition right away from the enemy, or
Well,
what were they in?
Yeah, you know, when you're on board ship like this with the guys that are talking, and the closer it gets to the day that they're gonna for the invasion, you know, everybody's really on edge and not sleeping much. But you know what? When you're 16, 17, your mind is not on it. You know, you think about all the movies, John Wayne and all these kind of stuff. You know, like so you figure that you're untouchable. We went ashore expecting, you know, you expect only that you see. We got on the beach, there was nothing but women and children running over, hugging, kissing us. I mean, they felt that they had been liberated.
Right.
But the Filipino guerrillas had done a job. I mean, cleaned out that area of Japs. We didn't encounter the Jap for about a day or so later. We're moving into the Philippines.
And describe that first
Well-
encounter a little bit, if you don't mind.
You know, I don't think there's a guy who's been in combat that can sit down and tell you or me or anybody what it was like.
Sure.
You have to. It's just a feeling that you have to feel yourself. I mean, something that it's great because you know, us men we always think about how you're going to react. Am I going to be, you know, like I said, I was scared, but I was able to function. You know, there's the guys that get so scared they can't function. I mean, but I was able to function so that I was able to get over. And once you get that, then all of a sudden you start strutting because now you feel, hey, wait a minute, I can do this. You know.
Sure.
So
Did you
that,
encounter mostly
it was kind
machine
of
gun
scary.
fire, or was it artillery, or?
Well, you
A little
know,
of
we
both.
had the constant. You know, one of the worst things that happened after we were ashore was that we found out that the Japanese fleet, I don't know if you read the stories about Leyte, that the Japanese fleet was sailing around to get in behind the landing. So they would have boxed us right in. But our guys went out, the Navy, they had a 72-hour battle. In the meantime, they had taken us and brought us back down on the beach to set up, you know, in case the Japs didn't make it to the back. But the Navy did some job on them, and they never were able to. In fact, during that time, the period of time, the Japs dropped paratroopers on us. And, I mean, we were fortunate enough just to get maybe 3 or 4 landed in the area I was in. But it was the first time I ever seen the Jap ever used paratroopers. And, you know, we were used to seeing movies and pictures of the Japs on buck-toothed little guys, you know, scrawny looking, you know.
These are big guys.
These paratrooper guys were over 6 foot. I mean, whenever we saw them, we were like, they were stunned, you know, to see. But like I said, we were able to handle them.
And what was your main job? Were you mostly?
I was with the, like what they call the word. But anyway, I was protecting the forward observer, the officer that he went up in front of the lines up that way and spotted targets and called it back to the unit.
So you protected
artillery.
the advance team?
Yeah, he was the forward observer, and I was what they call shotgun. You stay with him. He carried the equipment and protected him when he was. You know, you take care of his back.
So you made sure that the folks who were scouting out strategy and where the enemy was protected, so that he could do his job then.
Yeah. So we were up with the infantry wherever they went. We went and spotted targets. Or he would get a call on the radio with a target, and then he would call it back into the so that we would stay up there maybe a day or two, come back, and then relieve somebody else. You know, go up and that, so that you were constantly up there, up in the front lines.
What were the
And like I said,
conditions?
you're living inside of a hole most of 90% of the time. You know, you're either in the hole. He's calculating things and calling it in the radio, and you're just making sure that nobody gets to, you know. So it's kind of funny sometimes. You know, all of a sudden you're in a situation where you're not protecting. You're protecting them, but he's always aware that, so he's got his 45 out and he's, enjoying till the area calms down enough where he can get back to do his, job.
And you were eventually injured in the line of duty. What happened that day?
When I got hurt,
Yes.
but so we got to counter artillery fire. So the Japanese artillery had spotted our guys, and I mean, it was just, in fact, we lost one gun with a direct hit, but most of the time you spend during that time is in a foxhole, so that the constant blasting,
For hours on end.
yeah, for whatever period of time, it might be, but when you're in this, you lose all
Sense of time.
sense of time. I mean, it's just, it's really horrible. I mean, the ground is trembling, and you're in a hole. Everybody says foxhole, it's like a grave.
Right.
It's just in there. And then after it's all over, then they go around, check to see if anybody hurt or killed or whatever, and then...
And a few folks in other foxholes didn't make it, right? A few of the other peers of yours in other foxholes unfortunately didn't make it. I think you were describing that.
But usually at the beginning of the war, they used to keep one guy in a foxhole. Then they found out it was better to have two. So one guy would sleep, get awake, and so that you would cover each other.
Right.
And that was one of the greatest things that you find out that what true camaraderie was like. You know what I mean? And then there was no such thing as they made my collar that guy because it was blonde or white. We were just like two brothers.
And eventually, your sergeant at the time checked up on you and found that you had been injured, right?
Yeah. Well, we were secured from the incoming, yeah. And so then we're getting around, checking to see if anybody's hurt or who was, or the guy who was killed. But the thing was, one sure thing, I didn't want to even go near where these guys were killed because it was just like, body blown up to pieces, It's horrible. And then when you know that it's some guy that you knew, that you just put that night before talking with him, it's really a horrible feeling.
Sure.
But I said, during this guy noticed that my shirt and my neck was of blood. So I said, you're bleeding all over. So we're checking to see if I had cuts. It was the concussion that blew out my eardrums. And so the blood was just running down my neck. So they called Corman, and Corman examined me. So he said, no, you get this guy back to the medical, the rear echelon where the hospitals or doctors are at. And they took me back there, and the guy said, "No, you're finished. You put a tag on me." And they put me on LST. LST brought me out to the hospital ship. I think the name of the hospital ship was the Repose. And
this is around 1944, 45?
The invasion was in October of 45. So I don't think I was a week and a half at the most. I don't even think it was a week. It was close to a week, and you lose track. So anyway, they put me aboard the hospital ship, and the nurses told me, "You get over there." And I'm standing, you haven't bathed in 8 or 9 days, whatever it was, kind of raunchy. So he walks over with a pair of scissors and scissors up and down the back. Next thing you know, I'm standing there bare naked. They cut all the clothes off of you, and they bundle it up and burn it up. And then you go get in there in the shower. So you feel kind of female, standing there. Anyway, go in, take a shower, and wash up here, and then you go, before the doctors get a chance to see you, you go right down and they wake you up, the doctor examines me, but then I don't know, I think I slept for a whole day. I didn't
Sure you did.
it was what, just getting into bed with sheets, and it was great. What a great feeling that was.
How long were you in the hospital?
Well, I think I was on a hospital ship about 4 or 5 days, and they took us to New Caledonia, and they had a hospital there, and I stayed there at the hospital for a couple of weeks or so, and then they sent me to a casual company, and then they sent me to Guam. And when I got to Guam, I reported in this and this and that, and I don't know where, I met the corpsman, hey, so but Boria, you're back, or this and that, and that. So he says, I think the doctor wants to know that, because I met him later on in the mess hall. He told me, I told the doctor that you were back. So he says, I want to see him. So tell him, get him to come in 6 hours back. And he examined me, he says, these people made a mistake. You are not to go back into combat. You got perforated eardrum, you can't go. So then he sent me back, and then he sent me to Hawaii. I was in a hospital in Hawaii for about a week or two, and then they put me on, sent me back to the States. So I got back to the States, and I get put us on a troop train from California to Camp Lejeune, North Carolina, and then the war ended.
Well, I want to take this moment to thank you, Sergeant Boria, for your heroism, for your bravery. And I think that's one of the things that people want to know about. I know you don't style yourself as a hero, and I understand that, and I respect that. But what do you think drove you to such patriotism, to such bravery, to be able to, as a young man, 16, 17 years of age, to go out to defend our country like that?
Your mother.
Heroism, or hero, or that was beyond anything. To me it was that I was able to fit in. I mean, the exposure, being up amongst so many different guys from different, and we just got along so great. I just didn't feel like I was sacrificing anything. To me, it was like a real, getting away from the area that I lived in, and to be able to be in exposure with different people, and yet to build this kind of a camaraderie that even till today in my lifetime, I still feel the same.
You are a Marine, are you?
Exactly, that's it. There's no such thing as a hero. I was a Marine. I did my job, I did it, I tried to do the best I could, and happy. I'm glad that I lived my life that I was a Marine.
Well, I see you got your hat here today.
I
know it would be remiss if we didn't allow you to put that on real quick, but Sergeant Lou Boria, you are a true American hero. And
Amen.
as
you said American hero.
Congress,
I'm a true American.
Marine.
That's it. Happy to be a Marine.
On behalf of my constituents, on behalf of the United States and the United States Congress, thank you for your service to our country.
Thank you.
And that is our Sergeant Lou Boria, a local Marine from Central Florida, and we're so happy to have him here today. Thank you all for joining us.
And I was in a hospital there about a month. The war ended. So
World War II, right?
yeah, World War II ended. So that then they said, well, you have enough points, so you can get out. So from the hospital, they really sent me over to Marines, and the Marines discharged me. Medical. Service. The war was over.
Of
So
course.
I went home, and so I was out about a year or so, and then I've always liked the military, with the things of the Marines. So anyway, so then I joined the active reserves. So that like once a year we used to go to Camp Lejeune for training. Then anyway, so then I got working on and off. But all of a sudden one day, I think it was August the 3rd, 1950, I got the letter to report back into the Marine Corps, activated.
What were you feeling at that time?
Well, like I said, I was a Marine, always been, so I didn't feel, again or whatever, upset. I love the Marines. They got called back, it was okay with me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So anyway, they took us from Brooklyn, New York, and mind you, I said it was August, I think it was August the 6th or something like that, around in that time. And they put us on troop train and sent us to California. I think it was 3 or 4 days travel. Got to California, we were in California maybe a week and a half, and they put us aboard ship. And from there went straight to Korea. I don't
How
know
long
if
was
anybody
the-
fits figure.
How
I'm
long-
thinking about August. We landed September the 16th. What training? Nothing. Just went right aboard ship and straight to Korea. And we made it at the landing in Incheon. Now, when you've been in combat already, when you're aboard ship, and before you land it, all troops get down below deck. So, with all the bombardment that's going on and everything else, and then they would call you up, boat crews at a time. So in other words, like I was in boat crew number 2, all come up on deck, man your debarkation stations. So being a sergeant, you're the first guy over. So now I get up there and I put my foot over and I said, what the hell am I doing? I mean, all of a sudden it dawned on me, hey, you're going back into. I just wanted to get sergeant's hollered, move over, move, sergeant. So then you woke up, you know what I mean? But boy, I'll tell you what a feeling that was. I would say, what the hell am I doing? You just throw your foot over and now you're looking down and you're climbing that net and that boat is up here, down, and so when you get down, you drop your pack and hobble, and then you grab the net and you lean back and hold it as taut as you can so that the guys that are coming down can make it, into the boat.
Sure.
So 1 minute you're up and the net is behind your head, feet up, and the next thing you know, you're dangling off the net. So that board is up and down like this, and it's so dangerous. The guys the boat to come up and smash them up against the side of the. So you got to make sure you keep it taut so that the guys don't get caught between the ship. And then there's always 1 or 2 guys that drop the helmet or drop a rifle. You sit down there, you're ducking. Guys freeze on the net. I had to climb up twice to help guys down, get them into the boat. So that it was an experience, and then you go ashore and it's.
And when you landed, the fighting was more in the interior of Korea, not on the beach.
I got to
Was
tell
that
you this
correct?
incident, right?
Sure.
The Incheon landing was here, right? There's an island here they call Wamido. My brother was there, and I didn't even know it.
Oh my
My
God.
brother was Item Company, 5th Marines, and they made that landing because this couldn't get Incheon until Wamido was secure because they could fire right into. So my brother was one of the 25 guys who were wounded. My brother was one. So, and I didn't know it until much later. And then I landed with the 7th Marines, and one of the things that most impressed me was the stench of dead. Oh, I don't know if you ever. It's the most horrible smell that you can. You talk about nauseous.
Sure.
It was really. They had bombed the straight Kimpo airfield, and they had dropped napalm and everything else. And it was horrible, the smell. So that we went through Incheon, Kimpo, Seoul, and we went on a 72-hour operation. So 72 hours, it means you don't sleep, you're in and out. So you have so many guys on trucks and so many guys walking, and they alternate, like every 2 hours, get off, you walk, and they get on the truck. So it's kind of tough anyway. So we got to this town of Weijambu, and they relieved us. So they put us on trucks and sent us back. We were on the trucks for about maybe an hour or so. All of a sudden they started mortar fire all around us. All we go bailed out of the trucks and headed for the ditches. And the shells are dropping all around. And so I spotted this tank coming down the road. So I ran, got behind, got the radio, and I'm giving them, I said, tank, this is infantry. I targeted more or less where we thinking the mortars are coming from. So he says, I got you. So I turned around, and started to head for the ditch. And they fired. And as they fired, the concussion just knocked me. I just rolled over.
And the mortars
My ear
landing
started
around.
bleeding again.
Sure. And
And
what injuries did you sustain from that?
what did I do?
What injuries? How are you hurt afterwards?
Well, like I said, it was just like you just get like if you get punched in the head.
Sure.
I was dizzy, and I just lay there when one of the guys came running over asking if I was okay. I said I felt okay, I'm just a little dizzy, and so whatever. The shell stopped and we jumped on back on the trucks again.
So that tank hit the target where the enemy was
Yeah, I
at,
think he must have got him something
because the shelling stopped.
it stopped. So anyway, we got back on the trucks and went back. And when we're sitting in the trucks, one of the guys, he says, you know, you got blood all over your neck again. I said, oh, wow. So I'm wiping the blood and we,
How many folks were traveling with you at that moment altogether?
how much time?
How many people were with you? How many soldiers were with you? How many Marines were with
I would say that maybe 10, 12 Marines in each truck.
Truck.
you?
So I was
how
with
many
the
trucks
7th
were
Marines, this is 7th Marine Regiment. So yeah, we had probably a battalion of guys on this operation.
And how many were
So
in
that,
battalion?
so then when we got,
And how many people are in a battalion, just for the viewers?
yeah, I was 1st Battalion, 7th Marines, 4.2 Mortar Company.
And Alice, you were going to say?
How many people are in a battalion?
Huh?
How many people are in a battalion?
Oh, you figure there's 45 men to a platoon, there's 3 platoons. And
So we're
then-
talking over
And then
120.
there's a weapons company, and they have platoons like, say, 45 men too. And then, so each rifle company gets one squad of either machine guns or mortars attached to you.
So there were at least a couple hundred people there,
Yeah,
right?
at
And
least,
that-
at least a couple of hundred, yeah.
And your efforts by directing that tank helped save hundreds of lives that would have been shelled by those mortars.
Believe me, I tell you, I don't want to go, no heroics. Believe me, it was no heroics. I saw the tank, I figured that this is the opportunity, so I just happened to be close enough, I guess, and I ran out and got the phone. If the heroics, believe me, it wasn't intentional or any way like that.
Sergeant, we'll let history determine
Yeah,
the
well,
heroes in this, obviously, but the reason I bring that up is because I know you've been working with our office because the Navy has continued to deny you a Purple Heart for that situation. And I want to go more into that aspect of it now, because I think what you did was pivotal to save those young men that were with you that day. So you end up getting brought back to the hospital at that point, is that correct?
Yeah, then, yeah, like I said, see, when you have perforated eardrums, it's automatic. I mean, you're finished with. So that apparently, from what we're told, the records nobody. Well, anyway, when it
let's
comes
go
time
on.
like this thing with Korea,
Let's go into the record. So you were on the ship and they had told you that you were awarded the Purple Heart, is that correct?
well, I got the Purple Heart when we got to the hospital. I was in Japan,
Right.
and then within a couple of they come around and they come to the beds and they put the Purple Hearts on each. They just throw it on the bunk.
Sure.
So you get the Purple Heart. So I had got given the Purple Heart. About an hour or so later, they would find out that Bob Hope and that they were going to put on a show at the hospital, and they wanted to give the Purple Hearts to make it for the cameras and that. So they asked if we would give them back the Purple Hearts, and
Sure.
says when you get back to your outfit, you'll get the Purple Heart. So we gave them back, but I never got it.
And you even had to form the DD.
214.
When I applied to get it, they told me that when in Korea you was wounded by friendly fire because it was one of our tanks that fired. So they said that I was wounded by friendly fire.
But that tank was firing upon the enemy to save hundreds of young men's
That's right.
lives in
During
the
battle.
But
Marines.
it's beyond my comprehension how anybody could sit someplace back in the and
Well, I could
these
tell
trolls
you-
come in and say, "Oh, that was just one of our tanks." The guy's claiming he got wounded by one of our tanks.
I could tell you, Sergeant Boria, that we are going to continue to pursue this, and part of this video is our call to action, and that we do have a pending request with the Secretary of the Navy about getting you that Purple Heart that you so deserve for your actions where I'm going to use heroic, even though you may or may not like that term. I do want to turn to another question, which is, how was it different being a sergeant that time around with men under your protection and leadership? How did that make you feel, and what was that different like from World War II, where you were one of the privates?
One of my things in life is that I've always been a little bold. You know what I mean? So that I always felt that I have to tell you something to do, you go do it. I mean, I always look to be the example. You know what I mean? I'm not going to be a kind of guy that was out boozing, doing it, and then come back, I'm trying to play Marine. I mean, she knows me, my family, the pastor, anybody that knows me, they know, oh, Lou, oh, the Marine. Because I lived my life that way. My sons, you know, I had 6 sons of Marines. And not 6 sons, I had 6 sons, I have 4 sons of Marines, and I lost my oldest boy in Vietnam, was killed in Vietnam.
And we recognize that you are part of a Gold Star family in addition to your long service, and I want to thank you for being a great patriotic father. And while the U.S. government can never fully compensate you for your loss, thank you for also your family's service, longtime service to defend our freedoms in this country.
One of the things we've talked about is when we told you in World War II that the sergeants had to go check on the men. He's expressed to me several times that was the most difficult thing was after a firefight to have to go check on your men and collect those dog tags and realize that some of the soldiers that were under you were no longer were dead or were severely injured.
And how long?
He's talked about that a lot, about how difficult that was.
And I couldn't imagine, hearing your perspective as a private and then as a sergeant. How long were you in Korea for in combat? To give the viewers sort of a timetable.
We did September, October. Well, it was late September. I think it was 16th or the 17th of September, October. I was in a hospital Thanksgiving.
So about 2.5 months.
I don't even think it was that long.
And then I got the chance recently to go to the DMZ, to Korea, and you notice that the hills are now lush with trees, but it was a little cool, but it wasn't what you faced. Describe the environment.
I thought people, I was lucky. I didn't like, get wounded lucky, but it was lucky because I got wounded in Wee-Wee-Jambu. Wee-Jambu is just a hop, skip, and a jump to the 38 parallel. The Marines that crossed over got caught into that, at the Chosen, temperatures 30 below zero. I mean, people, I think about this and how did these guys do it? I mean, in combat, fight, and being trapped by the Chinese. There was, I think it was something like 100 something thousand Chinamen with one Marine regiment that was trapped, the 7th Marines. I mean, and this amount of China, you can't dig into the ground, you can't even, your water is frozen. The only way that these guys were able to eat with their rations, they would put them under their armpits and hold them there so that they wouldn't freeze and be able to eat. But could you imagine, like, you can't dig a hole? How in the combat here, how do you function 10, 20 below zero? I mean,
well, Sergeant, I'd love you to try to answer your own question. We talked a little bit about it in our last interview. What do you think drove you and these young men to be able to survive this harsh?
They were Marines. That's the only thing I can tell you. That's why people, when they tell me you think you, I says, if I thought I was tough, I would have been dead a long time ago. I am tough. I'm not a hero. I'm a Marine, and I feel that way. I'd raised my family that way, my sons, always, never abusive. I tell them what to do, whether it was an order or whatever they wanted to wait, but they did. My wife, 63 years, never ever put my hands on her in any way. Respect. She respected me and I respected her, and my son's the same way.
And after you lost her, you found love again with Alice, who has been your partner. And I want to thank you too, Alice, because a lot of this history and the ability for us to be able to interact with Sergeant Boria, I know that you help organize the schedule and really support him in this. And so I want to thank you too for your part in this. You know, this is important to history. And I know because you're humble, you don't feel like it sometimes, but people need to know the sacrifices and need to know what it was like back then so that not only can we appreciate it, but also learn from it. And so I just want to thank you, Sergeant Boria, for your service in the Korean War. You are a hero, even though you'll be bashful about it, and we're going to do everything we can to fight so that that Purple Heart returns to you. But I want to let you end the interview with any last reflecting thoughts on your service over there in Korea.
Well, I tell you what, it's a thrill for me just to be here, and for you in the position that you're in, that you would feel that I'm, you know, like I said, I don't feel that I'm any kind of a hero of anything. Like I said, I was a Marine, and that's been my life. I'm not bashful, I'm bold, and the people that need me, if they don't like, I don't care, because I don't. If you were in the Army, okay, you was in the Army, then it's okay. But I was a Marine, so don't come give me no snow jobs. You know what I mean? So I've had that boldness about me, and I don't care what people think. I walk around with this thing, I put it on, Marine, and Marine, like it or not. That's the way it goes.
Sergeant Lou Boria, an American original and a Marine through and through. Thank you for your service.
My pleasure.
We appreciate you, sir. And thank you, Alice. And that's our new segment on the Korean War, and we're here with Sergeant Lou Boria. Thank you, and thank you, viewers, for watching.